Hey everyone, Larry Walsh here for Economics in the Margins, and I'm coming to you from Mannheim, Germany, an industrial city that sits in the heart of the Rhine-Neckar Valley. In fact, it is at the intersection of these two great industrial rivers. And it's also famous for being the birthplace of the first car powered by an internal combustion engine. In fact, there's a statue just down the street here dedicated to Carl Benz. It's also a special place to me because this is where I like to think I got my global awakening. I was stationed here in the 1980s when I was in the U.S. Army. And it was not just a special place because it was my first venture outside the United States, but it was also a place where I got to meet people from around the world. In fact, in many nights in many beer halls, I got to meet people from different countries, different continents, speaking different languages, different cultures, different traditions and experiences. And I learned from that. I learned that people are ultimately the same around the world. Yes, we may have different traditions, but we still all want the same thing. We want peace, we want happiness, and we want prosperity. It amazed me every time I got into one of those conversations that fundamentally we all wanted the same thing. And I think we need to remind ourselves of that because the world is becoming increasingly fractured. And I was reminded of that in my recent trip to Poland. As I was talking with people from around the Polish channel, vendors, distributors, and partners, they kept talking about their history of conflict. And we are now living in a world that is increasingly fractured and filled with conflict, whether that is political, military, or economic. And sometimes I think we need to be reminded that we are just one people. We share one planet. I also like to think that the channel is a medium that connects us. The channel is that connection that allows us to trade, not just in products, but in ideas. It allows us to collaborate. And as I remind people frequently as I travel the world, there's no one vendor, no distributor, and no partner that is doing anything in isolation. Everyone is collaborating. Everyone has to work together in order to solve for the customer and ultimately solve for the world's problems. And I think that that's important as we continue to feel these fractures, these stress lines, to be reminded that we all need to come together. We all need to remind ourselves that we are just one people on one planet. We may have our differences, but ultimately we all still want the same thing. And we need to work hard to maintain that, whether that is in our politics, or our commerce, or just in our friendships. And I think the channel is a meeting place for that. Well, that's about all the time we have for this episode of In the Margins. If you like what we're doing, hit like, hit subscribe, share with your friends, and also please check out the great resources we have for you at channelnomics.com. Until next time, I'm Larry Walsh.